Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
There are some things in life that just shouldn't be forgotten, like bringing your keys when you leave the house, setting your fantasy lineup, and most importantly, having Hidden Valley Ranch to watch the game. Especially if wings are on the menu. Those creamy, zesty Cool Ranch flavors take each spicy, savory bite to an unforgettable level. Hidden Valley Ranch, only serious about flavor.
If you haven't heard already, we have got ourselves a new sponsor for the podcast. That's right, Aperio Athletics. You ever wish you could give back to the community and get some awesome gym gear at the same time? Aperio Athletics has you covered with 5% of all profits going towards the Canadian Mental Health Association. What a great initiative that is. Sign up for their rewards program and receive $5 off your next order. Use code JUNGLE10, I repeat, JUNGLE10, to get 10% off your first order. Visit the Aperio Athletics online store at aperioathletics.com to claim the benefits and rewards waiting for you. Be sure to follow them on Instagram and TikTok at Aperio_athletic to be the first to know all the latest product releases and exclusive offers. This podcast is sponsored by Aperio Athletics.
I am very excited to bring on our next guest, our first Western Hockey League alumni that we've had on the show. From Mission, British Columbia, he played over 100 games in the WHL, split between the Portland Winterhawks and Everett Silvertips. Post-career, he is now currently the head coach of the Fraser Valley Thunderbirds U15 AAA team, and he also runs Sharp Hockey Skills, an elite skill development program for hockey players, mostly from British Columbia. Very pleased to have on Bronson Sharp. Bronson, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Owen and Joe.
Yeah, thanks for coming, buddy. It's a pretty high-profile guest for us. I don't know if we're ready for this, but here we go.
No, we're all from Mission, right? Joe, are you from Mission?
Yeah, I'm from Mission, man. It's good to have three natives on there.
Yeah, so born and raised, so yep.
Yeah. No, I remember back in the day, you were like the town legend, kind of making the jump to the Dove, bro. It was like you and Bailey were the boys.
Yeah, me and Dolly. Yeah, me and Bailey actually still connect. So he works for the Thunderbirds as well. So he does personal training stuff.
Right.
So our team bills him out to do it.
That's so cool.
Kind of comes full circle with me and Bailey.
No way.
Started Mission together, and now he's training my kids and stuff. So it's awesome.
It's like, I guess kind of where we start is kind of like way back there. So I know you guys played Mission together. You kind of played before the academy. Well, you did still play at Yale. You kind of played minor hockey kind of before it turned into sort of an academy type thing, and with the zone programs and everything that's gone crazy today. So kind of talk about, like, I don't know, like your upbringing and like how you got into hockey and like how minor hockey looked way back in the day.
Yeah, so I mean, I played 1 year when I was like super young. My family moved to Abbotsford. So I played 1 year, like hockey one or whatever it was, in Abbotsford. And then I moved to Mission. And so I just started playing really young. So I have two older brothers. They kind of paved the way. They were the oldest one's a goalie, and then my middle brother, he was a player, and then I'm the youngest. So right out of the womb, I was playing hockey, loving life, and we'd play. We started when we were young, and I just started. There's just, what else is there to do in in Canada.
Mission, eh?
And Mission, Canada. Other than so, yeah, I loved it. It was my first love. Still love it to this day. But yeah, I started, and then I played all the way up to bantam, bantam hockey. So back then it was a lot different, right? So obviously now you have your zones and your academies, but the best hockey was to play for your association where you lived, right? And so I lived in Mission. We were a tier 2 association, but we were a really strong team. We had, I think, at the end of it, we ended up having 6 or 7 junior hockey players, three Western League actually, and then obviously Gage Goncalves, right? He's one of those 3, and now he's in the NHL. So we had a really strong team. So it wasn't a big deal that we weren't a big association. We competed with all the best teams, but it was just different, right? There was only about 25 kids that would try out, and then you just drive across the bridge, and there'd be a couple hundred trying out for Abbotsford, right?
Yeah,
Or Woolwich or Langley. So
I think I remember going to watch, like, we must have been an Adam Owen, like,
Younger
because
than that,
we're
dude.
3 or 4 years younger than you, right? So we went and watched you guys, and I remember because it was a big deal that a couple guys were going to the dub, and we were like, my parents like made a point to go out and come and watch the game. So it was, I just vividly remember watching your Bantam team play. And I don't know when it was or when it happened, but I think Owen might have been there. Yeah, provincials.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
hosted
I think
provincials.
that was,
Yeah,
and you guys had North Shore, I think.
yeah, we hosted provincial. So that year, I mean, I wouldn't say we were the favorite to win, but we were pretty close. It was like us and Penticton. Unfortunately, we lost in the semis to North Shore A2, which we beat.
Yeah, I was at that game. That was the game.
yeah.
Yeah, so we lost to them, which is heartbreaking. I still think about it today, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, like those are. I still look back at like bantam hockey playing in Mission. Those are like still one of my favorite times.
Yeah.
And like I tell my kids now, like that are coach, like you guys will never forget these moments. Like these are the best times. Like when you get older and you play junior hockey, like those guys, you're coming more to. It's still a blast, but you're coming there for one thing, and that's to go professional. Here it's just like you're competing at a high level for your age, but it's just so much. It's more fun in an aspect of like winning isn't necessarily the biggest thing. It's like building. You just want to go out and play with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think me and Owen relate to that pretty heavily because we played all the way up through Bantam. We had this kind of the same route. We didn't jump to any academies, so we played with our buddies up through Bantam, and then it was just we have the memories as well. So I think it's pretty similar. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I still am like kind of bitter about it in the regards of all these zone and like I was
yeah,
like,
dude.
you got to play for your city. Like I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
great
right.
to get to play for your city. But ultimately, it's pretty cool what they can do now. Is it's best on best, and it's not
Yeah.
really watered down. Like for Mission, we had a lot of strong players, but I mean, ultimately, we didn't have enough players that could play at the high level, so we would struggle a bit.
Yeah, the depth
But
just isn't
now
quite
it's
there.
just not there. But now you're at the highest level. You have the depth of 4 lines of really good hockey players.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That's right.
So, I mean, when you end up finishing playing in Mission, obviously, I mean, Bailey got drafted to the Western Hockey League, but you had quite a different path there. I mean, I'm assuming at one point you got listed before you ended up making it. So kind of just talk us through what happened when you were done playing in Mission and the steps that you took over the next couple of years that led to you playing in the WHL.
Yeah, so I mean, I was getting a little bit of interest before, and so then you have your regional camp for Team BC,
Right, yeah.
and so obviously we didn't have a lot of scouts come out to our games, being a smaller association playing tier 2, and so I didn't really know what to expect. That year before, I was on a really good spring hockey team, so I knew all the top players and I knew where I kind of sat, and I knew if I was going to go, I'd be a later pick. But I knew I had to prove myself because there's not too many scouts. So I made it to the regional camp, and I made it to to Salmon Arms. So it's called BC Cup.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many people, top 100 maybe.
I think Owen made that too. Yeah, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I think it's like, yeah, like 120,
Yeah.
140 maybe if you count all the goalies.
I got snipped from that. I didn't make that.
Yeah, so yeah, there's quite a few guys, and so then that's all of BC. So I knew that I knew I had to prove myself there. So like I was extremely physical player, and I loved to hit. So I was like, I gotta make a statement. So I played like the best 2 games of my life in the first 2 games, and then I actually got injured. So I popped out my yeah, I popped out my rib, but I was too tough for my own good, so I play through it. But I told the trainers and stuff. But then what sucks is like these scouts, they're watching me, and I'm checking all the boxes, and they really like me, and then they kind of see me not do as well throughout the last 3 games or so.
Yeah.
So I was like super nervous, and then after that, that's when after Team BC or after BC Cup, that's when the draft is like a week or 2 after. So I was sitting there. I got a few questionnaires and a phone call from Portland, and they seemed very interested in me. I mean, that was my only phone call, so that was super exciting. They said, like they're very interested. And they're planning on taking me later potentially, and so I was super pumped about that. And then obviously, so the draft came, and I was at school like everyone else. Every 10 minutes I'd go to the bathroom, all checking, right?
Yeah.
And then I didn't, obviously, I didn't go. So I was pretty upset. I was bummed out, but I knew it wasn't the end of the world. And then it was the 2 days after. So 2 days after the Team BC, or the next cuts were made. So the draft happened, and then after they make it to provincial camp, and then the cuts for so it goes down to top 40.
Yeah.
And I still remember this. I was in woodworking. I don't remember what I
Were you at Yale at this point, or yeah, MSS?
so I have a late birthday, so I got held back. So I was actually at Fraser. So I was doing the hockey academy there. So
Really?
I was in grade 8. Yeah. So I was in grade 8, and my phone's like 2 of my buddies texted me, one of them being Bailey. He's like, "Oh, congratulations." And I'm like, "On what?" Like I didn't look, I didn't even think of it, like you don't make it to the next round. I completely forgot about the tryouts. Like I didn't even think about it. They're like, "Oh, I'm making it to provincial camp." And I was like, I remember I texted my buddy, I was like, "That's a mean joke." Right? Like I didn't think that. And then I got like another like 2 or 3 more texts, and they're like, "Oh, congratulations," all this stuff. So I guess like the trainers report back to the coaches on the injuries and stuff. So I guess they really liked what I brought to the table in the 2 or 3 games, and they wanted to give me a chance to make. And that was a big year. So that was Canada Winter Games year. My year
Yeah, that was the same as our year too.
So yeah.
That's a big deal.
I'm sure they probably didn't want to take all the top end skill. They wanted to create a good team. Some role players, and they probably thought I could potentially fill in a 3rd, 4th line role. So they took me through, and then I was pretty pumped up. Like a couple first rounders got cut, and I made it through.
Yeah.
So it definitely helped my confidence. Like 2 days later, I was pretty bummed, or 2 days before, I was really bummed out that I was like, oh, I didn't make it through, or didn't get drafted. And then now this, and then one of my skills coaches. So I just started doing skills then. Now it's like a crazy new business that like kids all ages are doing private lessons. I wasn't doing private lessons. I was doing like 20 kids, but it was in Burnaby, and the one guy I was doing it with was a scout, and he tweeted. So he tweeted out, and he says, "Oh, congratulations, Bronson, because Twitter, that's where you kind of just tweet random things back in the day. Now it's X, but you'd just be like going shopping, blah, blah, blah. Like you throw everything on Twitter. And so then I read this because I get a
You're a
notification.
fossil, man.
Yeah, I know. And then I get a notification that's like, oh, congratulations, Bronson, on getting listed by Portland. And by this time, I haven't talked to anyone. Like, I get this so I look at Twitter and I'm like, Mom, this coach tweeted this because so what happens is they have a transfer portal, right? And then so it goes through the transfer portal that they said, hey, like Portland protected me now.
No.
And so I was like, I messaged him and I was like, I never talked to Portland. Like, how do you know this? And he's like, oh, it went through the transfer portal because he was a Seattle Thunderbirds scout. And so then he was telling me, he's like, oh, yeah, like you got listed and all this stuff. And I was like, and then everyone was tweeting it. Like all my friends, everything, oh, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I was like, I didn't know what to do because the team hasn't reached out to me and it's already out on the internet. And so then funny enough, I had a skill session there. So I went there and I talked to him. And then sure enough, after the practice, Portland called me and they said, yeah, they listed me. So my questions to them, I was like confused. I was like 3 days after. Lost Owen.
Dude, keep going. After,
3 days after, I was like, why not just draft me? And they're like, well, obviously we that was the first time we saw you playing in Mission as a small town or a small city and making that provincial camp team, obviously like a good player. So you're only allowed 50 protected players. So they delisted somebody, cut somebody, added me because they had like in the 8th round, I think they started passing.
Right. Okay.
So then that was a tough one for me, like watching the 8th round in Portland's passing because they were at 50 already.
Yeah, because that was the team that's supposed to take you.
Yeah, that was the team that was supposed to take me. So then they realized, okay, so then they took me, and then and then that year I went to like we did prospect camp, and then just kind of got my go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, what was that like? Like you're going from Mission minor hockey, and then you're jumping to a WHL prospect camp. Like, are you ready in the gym? Are you ready in the like in the off ice stuff? Don't even mention the on ice stuff. Like, probably a step up for you. For sure. So I mean, I think I was like 5'9". When my draft year I was like around 5'9", 140. I was never heavy, but I played a heavy game. And I was pretty fast, but I was pretty strong, but for my size, but I wasn't necessarily that big. But then I continued to grow, 6 feet now, but yeah, I was like, I didn't really know what to expect. And I was just like, well, I went to like BC Cup and stuff. Like prospect camp is just their drafted players from my year. It'd be like 99 birth year, 98s, maybe a few 97s. And then you go to main camp. And then, so that first year with the prospect camp, we were in hotel rooms and all this stuff. And like, this is like the first time I ever had a schedule, right? And obviously away from parents, for us, we just tournaments, just drive up with my parents. My parents would wake me up when I need to get up, whatever, they'll feed me all this stuff. But this is the first time you had to go to being responsible for yourself basically right away.
Exactly, right? And at that time I would have been
15? 14?
14 because it's late birthday. So I was 14. I was and coolest thing ever. I was like, I didn't know a lot about it. I just knew that Portland was a really good team. That year, I think they went to the Memorial Cup. Yeah, that's when like Seth Jones was on the team and like Nathan McKinnon.
Holy smokes!
Beat them in the finals and stuff. So then I was like, holy, like this is crazy. So then I got to meet all those guys, which was pretty cool. But the coolest thing was like our coach, his name was Jamie Compon. So he just won his, I think it was 5th Stanley Cup last year with Florida Panthers, and he like coached He won 2 Stanley Cups with Chicago, 2 with LA. And so he was just telling us. So we had like this. He was doing some presentations and stuff, like showing, okay, this is the way we play, and he was like showing all these clips of these guys, and then he was telling stories about all these guys, and I was like, I was just like, I go from getting coached by a Mission minor hockey guy who's a volunteer to best.
To a Stanley Cup champ.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe it.
That's the jump, eh?
Yeah, and it's like the way they treated us. I was like, I didn't expect any of that. But yeah, they treat us like they treat the players unbelievable.
Well, yeah, it's like
That's
you
awesome.
gotta imagine it's the biggest jump you probably ever taken, eh?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was like, it takes years to settle in. Some people can make the jump and it'll be all good, but like for me, it was like took a while. Took a while to jump into that.
That's right. Because Owen, you went to prospects camp, or you went to a dub camp too, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Seattle's. Yeah.
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 Seattle does so it's a big deal to pick a good camp. Like I know Seattle had I don't know if they still do it. It's still the same way it's structured, but I remember a couple of my buddies went to Seattle camp, and some of the camps invite a lot of kids, and some are some camps are like they don't really invite very many. So it all depends.
Yeah.
Some have just main camps. Some have rookie camps and main camps. But I think Seattle does both. I think Seattle does rookie and main camp.
Yeah, Seattle had a lot. They did both, I believe. There was a lot of kids there when I went, but yeah.
How was that experience for you then? Like, what did you take from it?
Oh, well, I mean, it was, I think, the same kind of thing as I don't really think I was on a radar until the BC Cup, and I think that's like because I got invited to like 4 camps. I just chose Seattle because like I think they had like won the year before, like Matt Barzell was on the team and
Yeah.
guys like that. So, and it was just like it's Seattle too, so it was like close, and I just that's kind of what came down to like me choosing. And then I mean, as for the actual camp, like you still got. I mean, I played a high level of spring hockey like Blue Select, so I was used to playing against like top guys. Like I played against Stankoven and Chason and Sword and those guys quite a bit. But like playing against all these kids from like there were so many like Alberta and Saskatchewan kids, a ton of American kids. So and it was just like it was just another level, like experiencing all that and like what it could be like to
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
There are some things in life that just shouldn't be forgotten, like bringing your keys when you leave the house, setting your fantasy lineup, and most importantly, having Hidden Valley Ranch to watch the game. Especially if you're having pizza. Those creamy, zesty, Cool Ranch flavors take each cheesy, melty bite to an unforgettable level. Hidden Valley Ranch, only serious about flavor.
eventually if you're able to make that jump there, like the treatment, the facilities, like Seattle's setup was unbelievable. So yeah, it was such a cool experience. But yeah.
Yeah, I loved playing in Seattle because like playing in and Everett, huge rivals with Seattle. Like I don't think there was too many games. Like we played them 12 times a year. I don't think there's too many games where there wasn't a fight.
Yeah.
And every single game was packed in both barns, packed.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
And
well, I guess
there's when we would play Seattle on a Tuesday, I think it was like there was like $2 beers. So everyone was plastered on a Tuesday, and it was like a Tuesday night, and like you would think it would be a Saturday Stanley Cup game there. It was wild.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of digging into your WHL experience, like, so how do you go from walk-on guy for Portland to making the team? Like, how does that go? And then how does your first year how does that end up working out for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, my first year, so after I played my very first year was, I was with Yale. So after the draft, I went to play for Yale. It was like the first or second season Yale has ever made. And that's when we actually went to Yale High School. Everything was at Yale.
Yeah.
So I loved it there. And it was a really good experience. We had a really good team. We ended up winning the championship. But then I was planning on going back to Yale again.
Was there who was on your team at that point?
So we had Bailey.
I was gonna say, was Bailey your teammate? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then we had like Parm Dollywall. I don't know if you know who that was. It was a guy who passed away.
He was a stud.
Year.
He played for West Kelowna, right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was our captain. And then we had a couple draft picks like David Lauren. I think Connor Brudenkate. We had some guys who played in the WHL, Scott Mahovlich, Travis Walton. We had a good team. And we won the championship. And then I was like, okay, like it's my 16-year-old year. And so I went to a couple junior A camps and I did well. I just wanted to get more experience playing in trying out. And I know a lot of them really liked me and they're like, oh yeah, we want you for next season, like not this season, the following season. I got that a lot, but I know that Trail really wanted me to play as a 16-year-old. I went up to Whistler. I had a really good camp. They wanted me to come to main camp. They wanted to commit to me and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I didn't really expect that. And I was like, definitely thinking about it. So I was kind of weighing my options. It was like that, or do I just go to Portland again and see how it goes and then hopefully make it, the following year as a 17-year-old. And then I get a phone call from the coach before the season. And I had a really good season at Yale. And then, so I didn't really know what to expect. And he called me and I made the decision. They said they really wanted me to come. That's what it was. They really wanted me to come to Portland. They're like, come to Portland. I think you need one more year coming to Portland to kind of see how it is. We really liked you. And so I ultimately made the decision. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go back to Portland. I loved it there. And then when I got there, the coach pulled me aside and sat me down and he's like, do you see yourself, or do you want to play on this team? And I was like, of course I do. Yeah. He's like, do you think you're going to make this team? And I was like, I do now. I don't know. I didn't really know what to say. I was like, yeah, I would do anything to make this team. And he's like, that's what I want to hear. Because I want you to have the swagger of you being on this team, you making this team. So I remember training camp, I was out there blowing up teammates, right? I didn't know what I was I was getting blown up. I was blowing up teammates. You guys are 20 years old. They think that they're out there with a 16-year-old punk, right? Or actually I was 15 at that time. But yeah, it was my 16-year-old year. I was hitting everyone. I was battling Caleb Jones, guys like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in the wasn't backing down. And I guess they were having a really tough decision on battling with me and this other 16-year-old. They're like, well, Cody Glass was a 16-year-old. He's on the team. He was a first rounder, rightfully so. And then it was me, and he became one of my best friends there, actually. So it was us two kind of battling out for the last 16 spot. And and I guess like a bunch of the scouts, and like I was pretty close with one of the scouts. He really liked me, so he was like kind of giving me inside information on what they wanted to see from me. And so I played some preseason games, and then they sent me home. So I signed. They were like, "Yep, signing, but we want you to play some preseason games, but you're gonna go back to Yale." So I was like, okay. Like I did as much as I could. I had an unbelievable camp. So I played some preseason games, and then I went back to Yale. And then like throughout the season, they had a ton of opportunities. I came up to just play with them. But what was tough is I had injuries. So throughout it was like September, October, November, they're calling me and saying like, hey, like we want you to come up. But I had separated and fractured my shoulder. Very first game back, I separated my other shoulder. So I was like pretty much playing separated shoulders. And then that was like a big tournament in Boston. And then they give me a call and they're like, yeah, we want you to come up. And I'm like, yep, I'm good. Let's go. And I had like no shoulders. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. And then ultimately I get a call back and they're like, yeah, we just talked to your coach. He says you're injured. I was like, no, I'm not injured. Like, I'm good. But so I didn't go. So then I got called up a couple times here and there, like January. And then like I stayed there all of like January, February, and then March. And so what happened was like I was with the team, and there's like a 16-year-old rule. So you can only play 40 games. So I was technically still like a call up, but I was just with the team, living in billet houses, all that stuff. When I was living there, and so they didn't have to play me if they didn't want to. Like they didn't have to get me a certain amount of games. So it was good for them to have me there. And it was really good for me for the experience. And then I know that my coach called them. He's just like, hey, we need you back we need him back for playoffs. And Portland didn't want to send me back for playoffs. They wanted me to stay. So I ended up taking like 6 or 7 flights there and back from Portland to Vancouver, and it was all paid for from Portland. So they're like flying me back. So it was like I'd play one weekend and then I would come back and like
few times. Economy or are we flying first class?
No, economy. No. I wasn't that big of a deal. Okay. Yeah. And so and like that was the first year I experienced the bus as well. So I joined in halfway through their Alberta road trip, which was super cool. So I kind of got to experience the road and like expectations and stuff on the road, what they do for meals, things like that. So that was pretty cool. And then, so I flew home, I flew back and forth a few times, and then I finished playoffs with Yale. And the day after we got kicked out, I was on the next flight, going back up to Portland, and then we played playoffs. And then I ended the season there. So I was kind of back and forth my 16-year-old year, and then 17 was my first full year.
Wow, that's crazy. So,
right, okay.
How did from your 16 to 17 year, like, and even your final years, like, how did your role kind of change and progress, and just how was your just overall experience in Portland and then eventually in Everett as well?
Yeah. So what happened with me is our very last game, it was actually April 1st was our exit interviews in Portland. And there's some rumors that Jamie Compon, who is our coach, was going to get fired, but I didn't really know too much about it. And then of course, April 1st, we're all there waiting to do like an exit interviews. And he comes in and he's like, this is an April Fool's. I'm no longer going to be the coach. And he left, and I shook all of our hands and left. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. So then Mike Johnson, he was coaching Pittsburgh Penguins, like Sidney Crosby, all those guys. He got fired. He got fired from there like halfway through the season, and then I think they won the cup.
Yes,
or
it was that same year
or something. So then he yeah, so then he came back after, and he was an unbelievable coach. Unbelievable coach. I just didn't think that maybe I just wasn't one of his guys. And so I know that I had to prove myself. He signed a bunch of guys. So Portland was like known for like, if you sign, you're gonna play. You're gonna play there. And I was talking to Jamie, and Jamie had a big role for me moving forward, and he kind of just he put it out there for me, and I was like, oh, this is super exciting. And then new coach came in, and he didn't call me in the summer. And I was talking like one of my best buds in Portland, and like he's from Abbotsford, Brett Clayton. So I was like talking to him, and we trained together. I was like, has Jamie called you, or has Mike called you? Like, have you talked to the new coach? And he's like, oh yeah, like chatted with him. I'm like,
Shit.
It's getting like late, it's getting close to late August. I haven't heard from him. And I was like, just watching this, like on Twitter, signing. There's like 6 guys he signed. And I was like, I may not be going back. So then I came in there. I was like, I have nothing to lose. I've got to earn my spot. And so that year I lived on a cot the whole year in the middle of the basement. I didn't have a room. So that's where they started me in the season. So I was like, they clearly don't see me making this team. I don't even have a room. Right? It was one of those things where it's like, oh, we'll just fill them in, see if we can get rid of them or whatever. I don't know what they were thinking. But so then I ended up I trained extremely hard that year. And after like fitness testing and going through tryouts, you do awards. So I won Rookie of the Year award for fitness. So I like went in there. I was like super prepared, and I was like had one of the best training camps. I kept progressing in my training camps, doing really well. So I won rookie award, which was pretty cool. And I was like, okay, maybe I might be on the team. I don't know, but like I was in and out of the lineup. But that year was like one of the best years to kind of learn hockey. I felt like I didn't learn hockey playing like minor hockey and stuff like that. But like this year, like that year I was like, okay, this is the real deal. Some serious systems and things like that, and how we wanted to play. Like the amount of video was like 3 hours a day of video.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez, man.
So we'd go to school. We would go to school, and then we go to the rink. And so the kids that still were in school, they were a little bit different. Their schedules were a little bit different than the guys that were out of school. So the guys that were in school would go to school at Sunset High School, which was just outside of the city. Really nice. It was like one of the nicest public schools that you can attend. I think they did that because they didn't want to put us downtown Portland, just because it can, like some of the big cities in the States, you know, a lot of things can go wrong in schools. So they put us in the suburbs and really fun. So that was cool. So then we would go to school, quickly grab lunch, and then we'd head to the rink. And then in the rink, a normal day, so we would do video either before or after practice, and it would be close to 3 hours some days. And then you'd hop on the ice, and with Mike, our practices were 3 hours.
Jeez, man, straight?
Yeah. There was like sometimes, I mean, it all varied, you know, like, but from practice to practice, it'd be anywhere between like hour 45 to sometimes if we didn't play for a few days, like it'd be 3 hour long. You wouldn't leave the bench. You'd hop on the bench. Zamboni would come out, scrape the ice, you go back on.
Crazy.
Yeah,
That's brutal.
He had the hardest practices, but they were so good. You always ended with conditioning. And it was so funny because then you end with a game, but he's like, but if you win the game, you just skate one length less than the people who lost. You didn't actually win regardless.
You didn't actually win nothing.
No, there was no winning. There was no winning. Yeah, but we were, yeah. And it was like, but everyone was so dialed in and like, but the big thing was like after a 3 hour long practice, you have your extra ice, but I was very tiring. So like you want to stay out longer and get better because I'm in and out of the lineup. I want to prove myself, but then I also have a workout after. And so what they did as well is you wear a heart rate monitor. So they put a heart rate monitor on you during practice, and then you have a heart rate monitor when you do your workouts. So they take all the
So they can tell when you're slacking
so
off.
hardcore.
Yeah, they can tell. So yeah, so like you have to get like it's like a scale out of 4 or 5, I can't remember. And if you didn't get close to like 4, there was a couple guys that got brought in to his office. And then if you don't, and then eventually some of those guys got traded. And it was like it was crazy. Like it was one of those things I think could have been some mutual, right? Where they're like, I don't want to be here. Guys like, well, you're not working hard enough. But then I remember one of my friends, he's like, my heart rate doesn't get up past like 180, and like our coaches are like,
it's impossible.
Like our trainer's like, no, that's not right. Like you can get it up higher.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So there was like, there was no cutting corners. You can't cut corners there. They hold you accountable, which is ultimately the best thing for you. And then like looking back at it, you're like, wow, this is like Portland's like one of the greatest organizations, just from what they've done and the coaches and everything. Like the way they just do everything is just professional, and they treat you really well there. Like you get a lot of things. I think the owner's really well off, so you get Normatex
taken care of.
Yeah, you get Normatex, which are like things for your recovery for your legs. You get iPads to watch your shifts. You get all these extra things. You get $1 million bus. That was really cool. So we had lazy boys. We're not jammed into just your average charter bus. And so like just a bunch of little things that you may not appreciate till after, or till you get traded or something else, go to a different organization.
So
how
does it? Oh wait, you go. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you just see it because you just see how many NHL players, like they have a wall there. Is like NHL players, anyone who's played in the NHL, who's came through Portland,
Massive.
And it's like
hundreds
so
of
names. And you just look at it, you just dream of your name being next. Like you just look at it, you're like, oh, I need to be the next name. So it's just an unbelievable organization, and they just do everything very professionally there.
Right.
It might not feel like it, but spring is right around the corner. Know how you can tell? Golfers are hitting the links, and we have some tournaments to talk about. And if you want to do more than just talk, put your money where your mouth is. Get in on all the tee to green action with DraftKings Sportsbook. From Thursday's opening round through the closing round Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with tournament props, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. If you've never bet on golf before, it's easier than you think. Just pick something simple, like a golfer to win the tourney, and make your pick. It's that easy. Some of the odds I'm seeing here on DraftKings, we have Michael Kim at plus 900 to win, Ricky Fowler at plus 1400 to win, or if you really want to go with the gamble, Jordan Spieth at plus 6,000 to win. Those are just a couple of the ones that stood out to me. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. This podcast is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah, man. I was just gonna say, so you obviously end up playing for Everett in your last years. Like, how does it go from your ending days in Portland and then you transfer over to and I saw you played for Langley as well. But like, how did that all kind of come about? And like towards the end of your career, like what was the mindset? And you didn't play any college, did you?
No.
No.
So
So
yeah,
what? So what? How did that all go about?
so we were, I think that year I was on Portland, and so like you have the ranking systems of the CHL, and we had like 8 drafted players on that team. So we had like Henry
Yeah.
O'Connor, Cody Glass, Skylar McKenzie, a bunch of these guys who play in the NHL now and have NHL games. And so we were a stacked team, and I was third, fourth line, mostly fourth line there. I couldn't move up. There were too many good players in front of me. And that year, and I was like, came into the coach and just said like, at the beginning of the season, I just said like, I want to play here. I love it here, but I ultimately want an opportunity to play. And so we had like good conversations about things, and then funny thing, this is like on the draft day or on the day of trade deadline, everyone gets brought in. They're like, yeah, like we have, or sorry, yeah. So everyone gets it brought in. One of my close friends got traded for Dennis Chalowski. So they brought in Dennis Chalowski. And so we're like, oh my, another first rounder. Like, this is insane. We have an absolute wagon of a team, and we're ranked like number 1 in the CHL. And so right before we have this meeting, we knew that he got traded, but right before we had this meeting, I'm like walking in because we were at school, and it was, and we walked in, and it was the only day I ever slept in at school. So, or slept in before school. So I forgot to set my alarm, so I missed my first class, and like, so I'm getting there. It's trade deadline day, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get traded. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh no. So I like go to my teacher, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, all this stuff. They're like, don't worry about it. Like, it's just a funny coincidence because that's the day I got traded. So they actually, like, I've never really said that. No one like, only the people from school knew that I missed my first class. And
Yeah.
so then I get to the rink, and I look at my phone, and my friend Jay Christensen texted me,
Yeah,
who
he's
plays for
nasty.
Columbus now. He's like, oh, congrats, dude! I can't wait to be your teammate. So he texted me. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, dude, your name's on our board. You got traded here. And I was like, oh my. And I was like, my heart sank. I was like, oh my goodness. And I'm like telling my roommate, I was like, dude, I just got traded. I think I got traded. He's like, no, you didn't. I was like, yeah, look at this text. As I'm like showing him, Mike, like, I think it was like Mike or Gus or one of the coaches, like, oh, he's like, hey, in the locker or in the change room here. So I was like, okay. So I like put my phone in my pocket. I'm like sitting there. He's like talking. He's like, yeah, like these are the trades we made. And we're looking to do one more. And we'll kind of let you guys go through it. And then my stuff, I'm about to put on my gear. I was like on the works of putting on my gear, and our trainer, because he knew, he's like, oh, don't put on your gear yet. I want to, I need to talk to you. And I was like, why am I getting traded? And he like looks at me and laughs. And I was like, I know I'm getting traded. Like, I know I'm getting traded, and I'm just waiting there. I'm
That's
just sitting
crazy.
there.
Rip the Band-Aid off, man. Fuck.
Yeah. And so then I know, and then our assistant coach like comes in, and he's like, hey, like Mike wants to talk to you in his office. And then we had a really good chat. And then I told him after he's like, yeah, I traded you. He's like, yeah, like I think it was like Swift Current or like PA or somewhere out there. He's like, wanted you. He said, we threw you on the trade, like the trading block with 1 hour or 2 hours left, just to see if someone wanted you. And I guess like there was a couple, I think it was like PA or Swift, I guess, gave him an offer that was a little better than what Everett gave. But they said they're like, yeah, but we really appreciate you as a kid. You're a good kid, and we like your family. Like, we wanted to keep you closer to home. And I was like, oh, I really appreciate it. So then I told him after, I said, hey, by the way, I actually knew that I was getting traded before because my new teammate texted me. He's like, oh, that's funny. Um, but then I get there and like I said, Portland or Everett is a rival. And I hated Everett. That was the team I hated the most. I fought two of their guys. Now and then they became my teammates. So I came really close with them. So then then once I got traded there, my very first game was in Portland against Portland.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
how'd that go? Do you have any anything you need to settle there, or was it all?
No, I didn't hate any of those guys. There's a lot of egos on Portland for sure because there's just so many.
Well, there's so many good players there. Like, of course, you're gonna have guys like that.
But I mean, there was nothing. I had no ill will towards any of the guys there. I really liked the guys, so it was good. It was a little weird, obviously, playing them.
Getting to blow up your buddies in the corner there. Or?
I don't know. I didn't. I don't think I did. I remember we played them in playoffs, and I got into some chirping with them, but yeah, we beat them in playoffs in the second round, which was pretty cool.
Oh my! So, that must have felt pretty good, eh?
Yeah, so we beat them in the second round. It should have been the conference finals we played in them, but we ended up coming first. So once I got traded, definitely wasn't because of me, but we became number one. We became number one in CHL. Like we went on an absolute heater there. We had some really good players. We had like Carter Hart was our goalie. We had
I was gonna say the Carter Hart era.
Yeah, then Dustin Wolf was our backup goalie.
Yeah, that's right.
And then so there's no pucks going in. And then we had like Connor Dewar, and a couple other guys that play in the AHL right now. We were just such a strong team, and like there was no egos there. So I went there. I was like pretty nervous. Obviously, didn't like any of those guys. I knew like Jake Christensen, guys like that. But yeah, I didn't really care for any of the guys because they were my biggest enemies, and then they were like the nicest group ever, and I thought it was a joke. I thought they were like, I was like, there's no way all these guys are this nice. And so like it was just like a complete culture change, and they just they just wanted to win together as a team. They did. Where in Portland, everyone's a little more spread out in the city, and in the suburbs, so you don't necessarily hang out with your teammates after practice. One, because it's such a long day, and then two, like you have kind of.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
There are some things in life that just shouldn't be forgotten, like bringing your keys when you leave the house, setting your fantasy lineup, and most importantly, having Hidden Valley Ranch to watch the game. Especially if you're having pizza. Those creamy, zesty, Cool Ranch flavors take each cheesy, melty bite to an unforgettable level. Hidden Valley Ranch, only serious about flavor.
Like a couple houses here and there. So you kind of hang out with those guys that are close to you. But like some of my teammates were 45 minutes away from me, just like on the other side of Portland's suburbs. And so forever, everyone's a lot closer. And so like everyone would go for sushi after, or go go do whatever. So you do everything as a team. We'd watch like football together. And I was like, wow, this is like crazy, like how close everyone is. And that year we went to the finals. So we went to the finals and we ended up losing the Swift Current. Stuart
The
Skinner.
other team you could have gotten traded to, eh?
Yeah, that or I can't remember. Either that or it was PA. But yeah, Stuart Skinner was their goalie.
Oh, right.
It was a tough one. We were like two unbelievable goalies in the finals. That was quite the experience. We were flying back and so you'd fly back and forth in the finals, and both teams would be on the same plane.
Oh, no way!
So both teams were on the same plane. So
you guys ever get into it? You guys ever chirp each other or what?
No. So like there was like you definitely look at them. But there wasn't too much said. Like I think there was like a lot of like the WHL like commissioners on the plane and stuff. Like there's like big name guys on the plane. And, they obviously give the speech as well. Like, hey, like there's nothing on the plane. If you want to, if you're gonna fight somebody or chirp someone, do it on the ice.
Do it on the ice. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So there was nothing, but it was a really cool experience. Like going through the finals. But yeah, like I know exactly how like those NHL guys feel, like 7-game series all the way to the finals. Like it's a long
it's a grind.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a grind.
Wow.
It's a grind.
Well, and then just going on from there. So how does your hockey career wrap up, and then obviously transition into what's become an incredibly successful skill development program? I mean, you have a lot of the best pro and junior players from around that you currently train now. So, just how does your career wrap up, and then how do you move on into this and where you are now with it?
I've seen the clips on Instagram too, so I wanted to ask about that.
So when I got to Everett, I got some injuries and stuff and concussions. Through stuff like even outside of hockey, I got injuries. Which was super unfortunate. So I was battling those, and ultimately it was like a few doctors told me like I can't play anymore. So I was like, like this is my only, like I only knew hockey. I started extremely young. I that's all I did in my life. So I didn't know what to do. So I was like, well, my dad was like, oh, come work construction with me. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it out. I hated it. I couldn't do it. I had concussions. And so like, I was like, I can't deal with it. And so then I still remember this one time, one of our coaches was screaming at us in Everett. And I was like, I will never become a coach. Like, I just don't like coaches. Like, and it's funny because now I still I try and keep in contact with all these coaches that have coached me back in the day, and like that's what I love now the most. So I actually quit Everett. So I called them on the trade deadline and I said, hey, like I want to play at home, because I got injured in it. I got injured and then I came late to training camp, and I didn't train all summer. And then I got injured in one of the games, and I just went home. So I said, hey, I need to go home. I need to go to my own doctors.
Oh, wow.
And so then I just stayed at home and I never came back. And they were calling me. They're like, oh, how's the process going through all this stuff? And I was like, yeah, I'm still not ready to come back. And so they're really wanting me to come back. And asking me like, hey, am I going to be ready to go? Like they want to know what they want to do with me, because I'm holding up a roster spot. And I just told them, I said, hey, can you release me? So they released me, and I went to Langley. I played a couple games there. And that was pretty much just like, I realized, okay, hockey career is over. I just want to play for fun. And so that there I was just playing for fun. And then when we were in playoffs, I left. I left the team. I said, hey, like I can't play. My head's too messed up, too many concussions. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I felt bad that I quit on the team, but ultimately my health is more important. So then I just reached out
Yeah, of
to
course.
Wes McLeod, actually, as you guys know who he is.
Oh yeah, nice.
I was like, hey, like get into coaching, and yeah, and that's where I started. I started coaching like
Yeah.
kids that were like 8 years old, 9 years old, and then I just like fell in love with it. Fell in love with it, and then started up my own Sharp Hockey Skills business because I thought I was like, there's kind of there needs to be more training. I think I was around here at that time, and so then I started my own business up, and then so what happened was like COVID hit right when I was starting up, and I was like, oh no, like everything kind of got shut down. But then I booked a bunch of ice when it was kind of opening up, and I kind of had some small groups going because everyone was eager to come back on the ice, and some of the places weren't
Yeah.
open, and a lot of
You're at Summit Center, weren't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was there, and then so they're private, so they opened up and just had a bunch of rules, and so I know that a bunch of these guys like Gage and all of them wanted to skate, so I set in place like I started like doing little small groups with that, and then it became big groups because kids from like Vancouver, like my old teammates, they're like, you're the only one that's open, like pretty much. Like all the places in Vancouver are still closed and all this stuff, and I was like,
Yeah,
come
no kidding.
come train with me, and then it kind of just exploded. In that, so, so I just took the opportunity. I was like, well, I have nothing to lose, and like not necessarily like it was like had some rules in place, but I was new to the scene, so like I didn't have that much of a reputation, and I know that some people didn't want to potentially ruin their reputation because they didn't really know anything about COVID. No one really did. So I was like, well, I want to test it out. Whatever. 3 kids on the ice. Then they made it allowed to 6 and 9, and then so on. And then like by that time, I had like too many kids, so I had to make multiple groups. And then it just kind of went crazy. And then after that, a couple of years, I coached in Mission, and then I got an opportunity to coach in the States
Oh, wow.
in Milwaukee. So I was there for 2 years or 2.5 years. Yeah, so I was coaching for a program there. I was doing like their head skill development stuff there, and then coaching one of their teams. And so then I was doing that, and then ultimately, um, I know that the Thunderbirds wanted me back. And I was like, you know what? Like, it was a great experience. I took everything I could from that experience. And then I just came back in last May, and then got named head coach here, and then started up my business again. And then ultimately looking for another year here, being the coach for the U15 Thunderbirds, and then doing my skill stuff this summer as well. So it's just kind of it's full on. Just like
Yeah.
never stops. Like there's like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. kids want lessons, and like parents will pull their kids out of school now
That's
to do
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's just foreign, man.
that's nuts.
yeah, crazy. So like you have like some people just like rush into the rink, pull out. They're like, instead of doing gym class, they want on ice.
They'll do on ice.
Yeah, which is great.
That's
I mean,
great.
I'm sure my parents have been like, sure. But yeah, I just think like thinking back, it's like it's just crazy how hockey is like so intense here, and like and
Is he as hard on the kids as your dub coaches, or?
no, well, I mean, I'm sure you could ask some of them, but I try my best to take everything from little bits and pieces from every coach that I've kind of coached with or have been coached by. I've been blessed to have like unbelievable coaches and assistant coaches, as well as me just kind of like watching some and asking different questions of different coaches that I kind of just cross paths with. So I try and take little things from each and every one of them and just kind of put my own twist on it. My big thing is like I love to be able to communicate with these kids and talk to them, and like I always say like, hey, like I've been there, but I want you, like, I felt like I wasn't prepared for that step necessarily. I made the step and I was there, but I didn't make a big enough impact, to have a full career playing hockey. And so like I'm trying to make set it up for, right now I'm coaching U15, so I want to set it up for 13, 14, 15-year-old kids as much as I can as a Western Hockey League program and team without overwhelming a teenager, and try and just kind of progress through and try and help them out and say like, hey, like our goal is to get you there. I know that's your goal, but like I want you to be ready when you make the jump if you do. So that's our big thing and our big motto as well for like the Thunderbirds is like we want to try and move these kids on. And same thing for my skills business. I want these kids to always move forward and progress and like get the best opportunities that they can and try and help them as much as they can in those in whatever they're lacking. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we've been going, this has been a long one so far, which is awesome.
I think this is our longest interview to date here.
It is.
That's all right.
It is, but it's our best. It's our best one to date for sure. I think at least as well. So I just wanted to ask you. I got a couple more questions. First, just one. I want to ask about your skill development. Like, you maybe just want to like talk about some of the guys that you've been training because you've had some very high end NHL players, some young prospects. I even saw you had Diamond Hands Daniel Amesbury out for a session last year. That was unbelievable. So maybe just kind of want to
watched him play in Kansas City. our team went to go watch him play in the coast there. It's fucking unreal. But
yeah. So I mean, like Zach Benson. Personally, like he's definitely the best player that stepped on my ice when I'm coaching. And I saw him when he was 14. So I had him when I was 14 doing the skill development, and he went to my pro group. So I sent him to my pro group because of how good he was. I was like, this kid is unbelievable. So he was like out there when Noah Juulsen was like just like in the NHL, like, and he was out there with like the WHL guys. This kid's 14, 15 years old, and he has the best skill out on the ice. I'm like, this kid's different. And then, like guys like Noah Juulsen, Gage Goncalves. Obviously, he's taken a huge step in his success. He would train like for him. We would train 3-4 times a week, and then we go golf at Sandpiper 3-4 times a week in the summers.
Those are both mission boys. You know what's up.
That's so we live life in the summer, and what's amazing is he gives back so much. Like he'll say like, hey, like I'll help you out with these sessions with the younger kids, and then just ultimately like these kids are like, oh, like I have a guy like Gage. Chason comes out with the younger kids too. Graham Sword comes out with the younger kids. And it's just like these guys give back, which is unbelievable. And like, just to help the younger generation. And then like guys like Sawyer Minio, he played for Team Canada this year. I get those like, so he's from Kamloops, and he reached out to me. I think he reached out to me. He's like, hey, like I'm in town for the summer. I'm looking for summer skates. Because I think he has the same agency as Gage. So like things like that happen, as well as like the way I got Diamond Hands was, I think there he came out to sessions was Jake Chason played with him in the East Coast, I think.
No way.
Yeah. So then he reached out to Jake and was just like, hey, like, what are you doing for training here? Because he's actually originally from, I think, Maple Ridge.
Yeah, he played in the
Grove or somewhere around there. Yeah. So he was in town, and he's just like, oh yeah, and he loved them. He loved the sessions, and so he came out. And he was a super nice guy. I know that he's really tough, but he was a great guy, and he loved to learn and stuff and try and get better. So
nice.
Yeah, like I mean, it's just like different players come at different times, and it's like tough to get some guys. Some guys now train full time wherever they live, like some of these NHL guys. But like guys like Noah Juulsen as well, he comes back and gives back through my business, which is unbelievable. That these people are like they come back to their roots, and they know that they were that age one day, dreaming of becoming an NHL star. So it's cool to see and to build these connections with some of these really top end players. And I have multiple guys who play AHL, WHL, NCAA. The list goes on. Like, that pro group, I call it junior pro group, would range from anywhere between like 15 to 30 kids sometimes, depending on their week. So
That's crazy. Wow. Well, Joe, you got anything else you want to finish up with here?
No, I don't think so. I think if you got if you want the last one, we can go for it here and wrap
Yeah,
up.
I just want to make sure there's no must tell story from any point in your career, or just a funny moment, anything like that you got or you wanted to tell. If not, we can wrap it up here.
Must tell. Trying to think. I mean, I can't really think of one off the top of my head.
You've told lots of good stories, so.
Yeah, I'm trying. I can't think of one right now.
No, it's all good.
Maybe you have to.
You probably
Maybe
used all
have
of
me
them.
on again, and I'll have to tell a new one.
Sounds good to me, for sure.
We'll get you.
Thank you so much for making the time to do this. Obviously, this has been an amazing interview, and we just really appreciate having you on. It's been awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. If you ever need a goalie, just let me know.
All righty, I will. I will for sure.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
There are some things in life that just shouldn't be forgotten, like bringing your keys when you leave the house, setting your fantasy lineup, and most importantly, having Hidden Valley Ranch to watch the game. Especially if you're having pizza. Those creamy, zesty, Cool Ranch flavors take each cheesy, melty bite to an unforgettable level. Hidden Valley Ranch, only serious about flavor.